Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badger Works. Today, this. Yes, we are continuing with the 1940 four-door. This is turning into something of an epic saga. But we are on the home straight now. So we've got it all painted up. And as I mentioned at the end of the last video, I did add a second stripe on the side off camera because it just looked weird without it. But this is now getting there. It's not done. A lot of people look at this and say, oh, it's finished. No, it's not. It really isn't. There's still a lot to do on this. So what we're going to do in this video is basically try and get this thing finished off. So let's get on with it. So we are, as I say, getting there. What I want to do now is add some more weathering effects to this paint. But I can't just put it straight on the paint because it will ruin it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to give this a coat of clear gloss varnish to seal everything that's on here, so we can then start putting some other finishes on it. Now normally I use Humbrol gloss, but I've actually run out, which is annoying, but it doesn't matter because I was actually going to try this. So this is High Coat double acrylic clear lacquer, and it's an acrylic gloss lacquer. You've seen me use High Coat paints before. I use the primers and things all the time, and so I thought I'd give this a go and see how well this works. So I'll give it a coat of this, and then while that's drying we can move on to other things. Right, so I've just put a coat of that on. It actually looks pretty good. You do have to be careful with it because it's a rattle can. It comes out pretty quick, so you have to, go easy with it, but I think this is going to work well. So I'll do the rest of the car, and then, like I say, we'll move on to some other bits. Okay, so while that body is drying, I'm going to turn my attention back to the engine. I've given this a coat of, where is it? XF16 flat aluminium, and I've also given it a hit with the gloss varnish. Now I'm going to give it a coat of old hairspray, and we're going to put some colour on it. Now for the colour coat, I'm using this German Field Grey from Vallejo. It's funny because they call it grey, but it's green. But anyway, I've looked at quite a few reference pictures of these engines, and they seem to be either blue or this kind of shade of green. So that's what I'm going to use. Right, there we go. Right, and just as we did with the other bits, we're going to now give this a bit of a chip. So I'm not going to chip it too much, not a huge amount, but I just want to get some, mainly on like the valve covers and things like that. So, oh, that's coming off really easily. You have to be careful with this. Wow, boy, that's coming off easy. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this with a cocktail stick so I have a bit more control. Right. I think that'll probably do. I don't want to go too mad with this. And to be fair, a lot of it underneath you won't even be able to see, so I think that'll do for that. We'll let that dry off. Okay, so the next step, and this is where it's going to get really tricky because I don't want to put the plug wires in yet until I've got the blower on, so I know where it's got to go. So we'll put the blower on next. And I think for that I'm going to use this Revell contactor. pop that on there, like that. This, for anyone who knows anything about engines, is really not how a blower goes on, but apparently it's how it goes on this, so that's fine. Right, stay there you. And we also need to put the belt cover on. That. Okay. Now we'll let that dry, and then we can start thinking about putting the plug leads in. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at these wheels. So I'm going to put some of this panel line on them. So I sprayed these white. I chipped them exactly the same as I did everything else. So what I want to do is use this panel line just to kind of pick out some of the detail in this. Probably help if I put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. That's better. Right, like that. I'll do the rest of these. I'm going to do some more on the bumpers as well. We'll do other things with this later, but this is just like the first step. I put some on before, but obviously because of the shape of them, it tends to run down to the ends, so you kind of have to give it a couple of coats to get it to cover properly, so that looks all right. So we're going to turn our attention back to the engine now, and I'm going to use this super glue to start attaching the plug wires. So, cocktail stick out front. And this is again where this little engine stand actually comes in quite handy, because you can use it to hold the engine upright while you're doing stuff to it. So I've got some wire here, as I mentioned before. This is just copper wire, just like normal household flex. And what I'm going to do is take a piece of this. I might actually cut that piece in half actually, because that's quite long. What we do is we take our piece of wire, we dip it in the super glue like that, and then we pop it in one of these holes like that. The tricky bit here is trying to get like a drop of glue on the end of the wire, so that it actually, and not dropping the wire helps as well, so that when you put it in, the drop kind of fills the hole. Not sticking it to your fingers helps too. And we just work our way around and fill all the holes. Stop laughing at the back. Right, this is the last one. There we go. So I'm going to leave those to dry for a few minutes, and while I'm doing that I'm going to go online and I'm going to try and find the, the firing order for a nail head, so I can try and get these plug leads in the right place. So that's what we'll try and do next. Okay, so hopefully they will stay in there now. What I've done is I've printed out a picture that I got from Summit Racing, and it shows the location of the cylinders and also the firing order. So I'm going to try and put these on in the right place. Now this is where it gets tricky, because you have to be very careful not to pull the wires out of the distributor. So according to this is number 1 cylinder at the front on the right hand bank, which means the number 1 plug lead should be this one. So what we want to do is try and get that around and into position without pulling it out of the distributor. So let's just bend that round a bit. So the way you figure out which one is the number 1 wire is basically when the engine is at top dead center on number 1 cylinder, the rotor should be pointing at the number 1 cylinder, but so it should be the wire that's the nearest, that's like in the direction of that cylinder. That's how you figure it out, basically. Okay, so let's trim the end of this off. Like that. Oh, come here, you. And now we've got to try and get that in there. So let's get a bit of super glue and put a dab of it on the spark plug, and hopefully we can get that to stay in there. Oh. Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Right, hopefully that will stay. One of the things you find when you're doing this is it either touches and just sticks instantly, or you're there forever trying to get it to stay. So I'm leaving that one. Now it's stopped there, I'm going to leave it. So the next one is number 2. So its number 2 piston is also the second in the firing order. So we need to come over to, this is number 2. So basically the way this works, if you've got 1, 3, 5, 7 on this side, and then 2, 4, 6, 8 on the other side. So odd numbers on this side, even numbers on this side. So number 2, which will be this one here, and now I've got to try and get this, I'll get these other wires out of the way without pulling them out of the distributor if I can. Let's see if I can just ease those back a bit, and let's just move that one out of the way, and then get this one, come here, and bring that through like so. And then we want to get it round the back of the blower and down to the cylinder like that. And then we'll trim the end of that off like that. And same again, bit of glue in the spark plug, and then try and get the wire in like that. And you're not going to stay, are you? Of course you're not. Oh, come on. But anyway, you get the idea. I'm not going to sit here and make you watch through all of this because it'll take me forever. But I'll finish these off and then we'll see what it looks like. Right, after a significant amount of wailing and gnashing of teeth, that's all the plug leads connected. There's obviously the coil wire sticking out the middle. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that yet. I might make a little coil and put it on either on the firewall or somewhere. I might have to have a quick look online and see where these things normally have the coil. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some black paint and I am going to very, very carefully paint all these wires black. And that's going to be fun. So, but I'm going to leave these to dry for a bit first, then I'll paint the wires black and the top of the distributor to represent the cap. And then we can carry on from there. Right, so I've just made a coil out of a piece of sprue, and what I did was I just basically cut a little piece of sprue and drilled a hole in the end and painted it black. And I'm going to try and get this in here. Oh, somehow. This is going to be fun. Right, you need to go in there, ish, like that. I think that will do. I'll put a little drop of glue to hold it in place. Like that. And now we can take our coil wire and bend that around. We might have to repaint this or touch the paint up a little bit. Yes, it's all cracked off already. Okay, how much do we want? About there, I think. Because we don't want too much slack on this one because it's almost up against the firewall. So, let's put that out of the way. Get this around. Give the end a little bend. Now, I wonder if this glue's dried yet or not. It's a bit sticky, but I think it'll work. Oh, get in there. That will do. I don't think you'll even be able to see that, but I know it's there, so bend that wire around a bit. I don't want anything behind, because this distributor is almost up against the firewall, so I don't want anything anywhere near it, basically. I don't want anything behind the distributor. So let's just put a little dab of paint on there just to spruce that up a bit. And I think that will do. So I've got one more wire to add to the engine. Right, this is an old USB cable that the end broke on, so it's useless, but it still has a use. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pair of wire strippers and I'm going to cut off the outer insulation like that. I mean, obviously you could do that with a knife, but I have those wire strippers which make life much easier. That will be possible. Let's make it a little bit longer, because this is one of these things that once it's in, and I'd rather have too much wire than not enough. I'll just strip this insulation off like that, and in here we have this nice salmon pink wire, and that looks a lot like a positive battery wire that has bleached in the sun, you see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end of this, and I previously drilled a hole in the side of the starter there. Now normally obviously it would be at the back here, but it's fine. And what I'm going to do is just give that end a little bend like that, because the nice thing about this is it still has the wire in it, so it will kind of hold its shape quite well. And let's see if there's any of that. Is that super glue dried completely yet? Yeah. Is I'm going to take this and I'm going to poke it into that hole. Stop laughing at the back. Like so. Try not to super glue my fingers to the wire. Go on, you fitted in there before. Oh, it's super glue all over my fingers now. That's fine. And then I'm going to run this up over the back of the bell housing, like that. I might put a little drop of super glue on that to hold it in place. In fact, I think I will. And we'll just put a little drop there. And we'll put a little drop on this side, like that. And then we'll take this wire and stick it down like that. But anyway, so I'll hold this for a second. But what I'll do then is I'll tuck it up the side. I'll just, fold it up over the top of the engine out of the way. And then when we put this into the body, we can connect that wire to the battery. And I'll find somewhere suitable to attach the negative. Right, so I gave this a spritz of clear lacquer. This is this stuff again. Hang on. This stuff. So this is the High Coat double acrylic. It's nice acrylic lacquer. So it's the first time I've used this stuff on this project, and it's working really well. Again, not a sponsor. I wish they were. Anyone from High Coat, if you're watching, please do get in touch. Anyway, so what we are going to do now is I'm going to use some of this panel line accent to give this a bit of a wash. So just to kind of pick out some highlights and things, and also just to start the process of grubbying this up a bit. So I'm going to put some on the valve covers. I'm just basically going to just wash the engine down with it, really. Just want it to give it a good coat of grime. Oh, this is where you've got to be careful not to knock the plug leads off. So I'm putting this on fairly heavy, because it will obviously run around and settle into all the cracks and crevices and whatnot. There we go, like that, and then we'll leave this to dry, And while that's drying, we'll turn our attention, I think, to the wheels. Now the wheels I've already done a little bit on, I think as you've seen before. So they've been chipped, they've had a layer of wash on them, and they have then been sealed with varnish. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some pigment on them. And this pigment here, this is actually powdered pastels. Now I've made these before. I've got a video on how to do this yourself, because it's just, the thing is with pigments is they can be quite expensive to buy, and this is a good way of getting them cheap. So I'll put a link up. But I just want to get some of this on here just for a bit of add a bit of you know, dirt to the thing. And what I'm also going to do, in addition to this, I've also got, just to give you like an idea of the contrast, this is Allclad's one of their pigment ranges, and this one is mud. So, oh, if I can get the lid off. So there you go, that's what that looks like. So we're going to put a bit of that on as well. Just got to be careful not to knock this over. That's probably a bit too much. And we'll just dab some of that in as well, just to give it a bit of variation, really. And I mainly want this like in the dish of the wheel rather than in the middle. And then once we've done that, and I showed you this in in the previous video, this is Allclad's pigment fixer. So let's just move these to one side for a second. And then what we do is we take a little brush here and just touch it on like that. And you'll see that soak through that pigment. And fix it in place like that, you see. And then we'll let that dry, and I'll show you the final result. Right, so there's a couple of the wheels done. I've done all the wheels, but you know, just to give you an idea. So this one I've favoured more with mud, and this one more with the dust. So because these wheels are actually, so this is one of the front wheels, and this is, no, sorry, that's the front wheel, that's the rear wheel. So you see that one has a bigger centre hub for the wheel bearing, and that one doesn't. So I've basically done one side more muddy than the other, just because I can. So that's those. And I've also, while I was at it, hit the frame. So you can see I've added some pigment there, and I haven't done the whole thing because there's no point, because like the bit in the middle you won't see. So it's basically just the wheel arches, you know, where the frame goes over the wheels, and I've added some fairly heavy rust to those. So that looks pretty good. And next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my attention to the body shell. And what we're going to do for this is we're going to add some rust streaks. And for that, I'm going to use some oil paints. So let's just move that out of the way for a second. I've got a couple of Daler-Rowney oil paints here. So this one is cadmium orange, and this one is burnt sienna, and you can see they look quite rusty. So to apply these, I'm going to use a little bit of cardboard, and this is just a bit of corrugated card that I came out of a bit of packaging for something. And the reason I like to use cardboard is because obviously with these being oil paints, there's quite a lot of oil in there. And so what the cardboard does is it soaks up the oil. And so what we're going to do is take a little brush, and we're just going to put a few dots where the rust spots are, and in various other places, just here and there. Put a little bit on the door handle as well, and around this trim piece. And you'll see I'm adding it in a fairly haphazard fashion. A bit of this as well. And then what we do, I can find the brush. This is a makeup brush, eyeshadow blender and applicator. This actually came from the pound shop. And what you do is you just brush it like that, you see. And it gives us some nice streaks down the side, like that. And you can actually be fairly aggressive with this. And one thing you can do as well, which I found is very effective, is to go up as well as down, and it kind of drags the paint up and into the crevices. Stop laughing at the back. So, and the great thing about oil paints is if you don't like how it goes on, you can just take a piece of kitchen paper and just wipe it off. So it actually works really well. But as you can see, a little bit of it goes a long way. And you can mix and match the lighter and darker shades and basically get whatever effect you want. See? That's pretty good, isn't it? So this is going to take a while, so I'll do the rest of it and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. Okay, so that's that done. So you can see that doesn't look too bad, does it? Careful not to touch it. There. Now, I actually used a few other colours as well, and one of the sets I used is this one here. So this is the Crawford and Black oil colour set. You get this from the Works. And the great thing about this set, hang on, I'll show you the inside of it. They're smaller tubes, and you get quite a good selection of colours, including black and white and all of your rust and dirt colours. But the nice thing is because these are cheaper paints, they actually have less oil in them, which means they actually work really well for this because you don't have to soak the oil up first. So if I show you here, so these two colours here are the Daler-Rowney, and you can see how much oil is soaked into the cardboard. But I also use this yellow ochre and the black from the Crawford and Black set, and you can see how much less oil has soaked out of it. So they actually work really well because they're actually not great as oil paints, but they work really well for this kind of thing. But there you go. So what I also did while I was at it was I did the grill, and what I did there was I used the black, and I basically just painted the whole thing black. And then obviously oil paints take forever to dry, so I then took just a piece of kitchen paper and just wiped it off the excess to reveal the fins. So that looks pretty good. And I also did the bumpers. So I just did a little bit, oh God, I can't get hold of it. I did a little bit on the bumpers there, just a little bit of rust around the bolts, just to add a bit of interest. And I also did a little bit on the engine. I didn't go mad on the engine because, like I say, most of it you can't even see it. But I did a couple of streaks on the front of the heads, and where's my pointer? So there on the front of the heads, also where the oil fillers are, and also I did some on the bottom of the engine. So you won't unfortunately really see that, but you know, it is what it is. It makes me feel better, so there you go. So there we go. The bonnet I did a bit as well, and again just a little bit of streaking on the sides and the front, just where the worst of the rust is. And it's really just to kind of break it up a little bit and make it look a bit more, you know, realistic. So now we are getting very close to being able to put this thing together. Now I think what I'm going to do next, I'm going to hit this with a hairdryer for about 10-15 minutes just to dry off the oil paint, and then I think we can actually start doing, well, I need to seal all this, so I'll seal all this with a matte lacquer. So I'll use this, the high coat matte lacquer that I always use, let that dry, and then we can apply some more pigments, because what I want to do is I want to do some on the, I want to do the whole car, but especially on these running boards, to basically, you know, dusty them up a little bit and put some dirt in there, so because they look far too clean still. So I'll put the lacquer on, we'll let that dry, and then we'll come back and carry on with the weathering. Right, now while everything's drying, I'm going to take a minute to put these headers on, and because they're resin they'll need to be super glued. Got to be careful of these plug wires because I don't want to break any of them. Right, that's that one. Right, let's turn that over. Pop that in there. Now, if this was a real car, we'd have a real problem here, because I don't know if you can see it in there, but that wire is basically touching the header. If this was a real car, that would melt through that in seconds. But fortunately, it's not, so it doesn't matter. So there we go. So that's that. Now I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. I don't know whether to attach this to the chassis, the frame, and then put it in, and then put the whole lot in, or whether to put the frame on and then put the engine in afterwards. Let me have a little play with it, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do. Right. So that's just sitting in the frame at the moment. Right, let's get that in there. Drop that over the top. Yeah, that will work. That will go in like that. So I'll glue the engine to the frame and then put the body over the top. There. Oh, this is going to be fun. Right. Cancel that. Let's take that out for a second. And let's get, oh, come here, some of this Revell contactor. And put that on the engine mounts. That's far too much. It's fine. Okay, pop that back on there. Drop that in place. Oh, this is another one of these things that's kind of awkward. Okay, that is fine. So we'll let that set up for a minute and then we'll put the body on. Right, body. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little drop of this Revell contactor in these holes. There and there. Like that. And now we've got the fun bit. So that goes like that. Over the top. Oh. Right, hang on. There we go. Bit of brute force and ignorance. Definitely let that set up for a while. I think while that's doing that, actually, what I'm going to do, this is going to be fun, is I'm going to try and get this battery lead into place. Let's just bend that round, and I think we need to cut that. About there. Cutters. Just let's try and cut this straight, because it'll make life much easier. Like that. Oh dear. This is another one of these redecorating your house through the letterbox moments. I was going to put a negative wire on as well, but I honestly don't think there's going to be space. Let's get this on first and then we'll worry about that in a minute. Let's just bend that over like that. Super glue. Let's put a drop of that on the end of there. Like that. Find your glasses. And now that needs to go So I should have to hold this for a minute to make it stay put. There we go. What was hard about that? Now, I think what I'm going to do, I've got some more of this wire. Unfortunately, there's no black wire in these things. But I think I'm going to use a bit of this grey, because that's near enough. And I'm not going to try and attach this to anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a piece off. Like that. And I'm going to bend the end over. Like that. Might even cut that down a bit more actually. Yeah, let's cut that down a bit more. And now what we'll do is hold that like that. Put some super glue on the end of it. Like that. And now we'll try and drop that down in there if there's anywhere for it to actually go. Oh no, there we go, there we go. It's going. Oh, I've knocked the other one off. There we go. Right. Nobody breathe. Nobody touch anything. We'll leave that and let it dry. It's fine. Everything's fine. Right, now we've got to get the radiator in, which now doesn't want to fit between the chassis rail. Oh no, there we go. Oh. Do you know, this would really help if I could see what the hell I was doing down there. Because there are two slots in the frame rails that the rad fits into, and I can't see them. Oh, right, we're getting there. I just want to test fit it first, but the trouble is, it's going to be a thing once I've got it in there. I don't think I'm going to want to take it out again. Can you see that? Because I can't see that. Where? Oh, this is ridiculous. Hang on a minute. There it goes. Right. That's in. And what I want to do now is just make sure the bonnet shuts with this, because this thing has caught me out a couple of times where you put things in, like you test fit them and they work, and then once everything's all glued and clamped up and everything, nothing fits anymore. So let's get the bonnet on. Get in there. Okay, right, that fits. That looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Okay, so now we've got to glue that rad in. Let's see if we can get to it from the bottom, because that will make life so much easier. So I think what I can do is put a drop of glue there and a drop of glue there, and then that saves having to turn it up the other way again. And while we're at it, I'll add a bit more glue to this frame just to make sure it stays in. Okay, there we go. Whew. And we're still not done. There's still more weathering to do, so we'll do that next. Actually, I'll tell you what we'll do next. We'll put the bumpers on. I think that's probably the best idea. Right, yeah, that one's the back. And this one must be the front. So they have these little slots that they go in. which they now don't want to go in, because of course they don't. Oh, good grief. Glue on there. Glue on there. Now hopefully we can get these where they need to be. Oh, hang on. Right, that's that one. Right, now for the front one. And it goes that way up. Right, that'll do for that. Right, I'm just sorting out the tyres while I'm waiting for that to dry. So what I'm doing first of all is, you'll see, as with everything in this model, there's so many bits of flashing and everything on it. And it's also worth checking because it's quite difficult to see. But there you see it says rotation right side. And then obviously on the other side it says rotation left side. So I've been trimming off this ridge here. So right side, right side, left side. So I need to do the left side on this one. Well, in fact, actually I think I need to do both sides on this one. Good grief. So I'll try and do it in front of the camera, but it is very fiddly. But basically what you do is just come in with the point of the knife, and this is a new blade, and just very, very, very carefully just slice that off. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. Because what you don't want to do is cut the lettering off. So you have to kind of come in at an angle and remove this bit of flashing without cutting into the lettering, which is so much fun, as you can imagine. I might actually have to swap this one round, because I was going to use this as one of the left side tyres, but I don't know if you can see it very well on there, but there's a bit of a mismoulding there, so it's not really, doesn't look great. So I might have to do a couple of them and just flip this one round. I was toying with the idea of painting the lettering, but you know what? I really can't be bothered. Which I know isn't the right attitude, but it's not really. I just want to get this thing done now, and I'm going to be putting some dirt and things on these tyres anyway, so I don't think it will really matter that much. But I'll get these done, and then we'll get the tyres the wheels mounted on the tyres mounted on the wheels, and then by then the rest of the car should be dry, and hopefully we can get these wheels put on. Actually, I just remember something else I need to do on these tyres. They look a bit clean and shiny, and also they have a mould line down the middle. So I'm going to scuff them up a bit. So to do that, I'm just using the old Dremel again. I'll try and do this under the camera, but it's quite messy. And just give them a little scuff up like that. There you go. That's all it needs. So yes, I'll do the rest of these, then oh hang on. I'll do the rest of these and then we'll mount the wheels. Right, so we need to sort these out because we've got, so that is right side, and that is right side, that is left side, and that is left side. Okay, so I need a front wheel and a back wheel for each side, which is that. So that goes in there like that, and then this goes on the back like that. Now the idea is that you put them in and you squeeze them together, and that and then glue them, but I honestly don't think they need it, so I'm going to just leave that like that. So this is the left side rear, and we'll put one of these in here. Oh, he says, as it won't go in. That's it. Right, that's left. These two are right. So that goes in there. Right, and there are our wheels. So what I'm going to do now is get some of our weathering powder, and I'm just going to put a little bit on all of these wheels just to kind of dusty up the tyres a bit. So I don't want to put massive amounts on, I just want to kind of, I don't want these tyres looking too new and shiny, that's the problem. So I'll just put some on like that. And it just kind of, I'm sure you can see the difference. And now for the other side, because like I said, I put more mud on these ones. So, but I think I'm going to do the same thing again as I did before. Is just go over it with a bit of this mud as well. Oh, just to sort of tone it down a bit. Like that. I think that's all it needs. But the other thing I'm hoping you can see, and you'll hopefully see it a bit more on the actual car, is the difference between applying this weathering powder over a matte finish to over a gloss finish. Because when you put it over a matte finish like this, you get a lot more of a kind of powdery, dusty effect rather than dirt. And it's one of the nice things about these pigments is you can do a lot with them. if you use different, you know, techniques. And my daughter's just turned up. Say hello, Katie.
Hello, Katie.
What are you after?
Warmth.
Well, if you will insist on playing outside when it's about -5, you weirdo.
Ooh, deteriorising the waves.
Weathering is the word you're looking for, yes.
Deteriorising sounds cool.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Right, vote in the comments below. Do we replace the term weathering with dirterising? So, there you go, I'll give you something to talk about. You can show everybody how you're down with the youth.
What, me or them?
Them. Are you down with the youth? She just gave me a very odd look.
We did pollen clay. Is that down with the
I'm not sure if that counts. But yes, that's our latest hobby is polymer clay. So she's been making all kinds of things out of clay. And it's going quite well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's doing very...
Earrings and some earrings and some other stuff.
Some earrings and some earrings and some other stuff. Okay. She's actually made a whole bunch of stuff and like I said, it's actually pretty good. So, well done. Now, I need to start putting some powder on the other bits. So let's do that next.
Are you going to deteriorise the car now?
Dirterise it, yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Mainly these running boards more than anything, because they look far too clean and shiny. But as I say, when you apply this to a matte finish, hopefully you can see it, it kind of just leaves a very fine dust. Dust, exactly, yes.
Yay!
Good job, child, well done. As I say, I want to mainly focus on the top more than anything, because that's where the dust would settle. Like horizontal surfaces. So I'll just put some on and then I'll go over it with a bigger brush and just kind of knock it all off again. So are you going back outside again, or are you stopping in here now?
I'm going to stay in here.
You what? Your watch is steaming. Well, yeah, that's because you've been outside in the freezing cold.
It's 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, there you go. Well, it's up to you. You're more than welcome to stay if you want to. Right, let's turn this around a bit.
Good, because I'm not going back out there again.
Eh?
Is it good, because I'm not going back out there again?
Oh, okay. Suit yourself.
Freezing.
Well, yeah, it's because it's winter.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's warm.
What?
That's what comes after winter, doesn't it? or is it spring? Or is it summer? It's awesome, isn't it?
Oh, good grief.
No, because it goes summer, spring.
No, it doesn't.
Autumn,
No.
Winter, autumn, spring, summer.
You're just doing this now to annoy me, aren't you?
No.
What are you babbling about, you weirdo?
Or does it... Wait.
Spring, summer, autumn, winter. Do they not teach you this stuff at school?
No. They teach us about the latitude and the altitude of the Earth. The longitude, not the altitude. Oh, sounds like nonsense.
It's not nonsense, is it?
Yeah.
Because you need to know these things.
Yes, but when are you going to need to buy 500 apples?
Well, here's the thing.
Strangest maths question ever.
You might do. You might be in catering.
Yeah. I still really would need 500 apples. They each cost £1.50.
If you're buying apples that cost £1.50 each, you're getting ripped off. I'll tell you that right now. Right, that'll do for that one. Let's get a bit of mud on this running board.
My toes are cold.
What?
My toes are cold.
Well, I just think they probably are. Mud.
Yeah. Not chocolate.
No, definitely not. Right, we'll just put the dirt on the mud on the running boards
Why have the windows got sponges in?
to stop all this stuff going inside. Right, I think that'll do us. So what I'll do now is I'll just get a slightly bigger brush, probably something like this, and just go over the whole thing and just like knock the worst off and just basically get this where I want it, and then I'll hit it with another coat of
Varnish.
matte varnish.
Yeah, I was right again.
There you go, you see. And that will be one step closer. We are getting very close to this being done now. So I'll put the varnish on, then we'll come back. Oh wait, I don't know how long this is going to take, so say goodbye, Katie.
Bye, Katie.
Anyway, back in a minute. Okay, so now that's dry. I'm just going to use some of this clear red X27 to do the rear lights. This stuff always smells really weird. It's like you feel like you want to eat it. It smells like really sweet and like, you know, anyway. Anyway, now this is going to be fun. Because I want to get on a coat enough to make it look like glass, but not enough, or plastic, but not enough to for it to start running everywhere. And the problem is with this, you can probably see this plastic is not very well defined at all. So, which is not helpful, but as always we will do what we can. Actually, if anybody does know about American cars, it'd be interesting to know if these are glass or plastic, these lights, because obviously with the age of this thing, I mean there were plastics around then, obviously. I mean, thermoplastics were invented by the Victorians, so I don't know if they would have used them in this application or whether they would have used glass. But anyway, so that's those done. Now we'll do the headlights. Right, so first the fun bit is cleaning these up, because as with most parts on this, I don't know if you can see that very well at all, but there's a lot of flashing around the edge. So we'll get rid of that first. Because what I want to do, and it's something that I don't really think was common with American cars, but I quite like the look of it. I'm going to take this X24 clear yellow and just give it a coat on the inside of the lens. I'm not going to go mad with it, I just want to give it just a light coat on the inside. And this is the same as I did with the windows and everything earlier. It was just basically just to kind of stop it looking quite so much like plastic. It's surprising what a dash of colour will do on plastic to make it look, well, less like plastic, basically. Like that. Right, so we are very, very close to the end now. So I'm going to put the headlight glasses in. Right, I've got this pickup tool, but I don't know if it's going to work because it's quite old and I think it's lost a lot of its stick. In fact, I think it might have lost all of it. Oh no, there we go. Right, let's see if we can wedge that in. That's near enough. Now I'm going to do something that is not advisable. I'm going to stick it in with some solvent, but it only needs to have a tiny dot just to hold it in place. So hopefully that'll work and not make it go all foggy and horrible. Okay, now that one. Oh, come on. Goes in like that. Those have gone in surprisingly well. I'm very pleased. I had visions of being here for hours trying to do this, but get in there. Okay, so we'll give those a minute to set up, and then we've got a couple of little bits left to do and we'll be done. I think what I'm going to do actually while I'm waiting for that to dry is I'm going to take the masking tape off the windows, because I don't think we need that on there anymore. This is going to be fun trying to get this off without marking the glass. Oh, come on. What I'm slightly worried about is it pulling this out of the middle of here, but it didn't, which is nice. Oh, come on. Oh, that's decided it wants to come off in pieces. That's nice. Okay, do not pull that bit off, please. Oh, there we go. That's all right. Now, rear quarters. And if there's a little bit of overspray on the windows, I'm not really that bothered, because the way this thing, you know, has been painted, You know, if this was a real car, it would have been done probably without too much care. Come on. Oh God, this does not want to come off. There we go. This has had so many layers of finish on it. You probably can't see it, but this tape is like 4 times thicker than it was when it went on. There's a little scratch in the glass there, but I'm not worried about that. I think you can probably see it there, how thick the paint is on this thing. There is a lot of layers. Right, let's see if we can get this off. That's it. Few salt crystals still in there. Trouble is they're buried under so many layers now, you'll never get them out. Oh, come on. Right, that's that. Now for the fun bit, trying to get this sponge back out of here. Because the trouble is with this now is it has welded itself to the paint. I think we'll take it out the way it went in if we can. Oh dear. This is the really nerve-wracking bit. Because it's what this is going to pull out with it. No, I think we're all right. Oh God. Whew. Right. What was all about that? And I think what we're going to do now is put the wheels on. So I've actually painted the axles. I just ran them over with a rattle can. And this is going to be the fun bit, trying to thread these axles through this thing. So what have we got there? Left side. This is where we find out these axles don't actually fit in the wheels. Oh, right, I think I'm going to have to sand these a little bit. Let me just sand the ends of these off and then we'll put these wheels on. Right, okay, so that needs to go through there. Oh, this is going to be fun. Oh. right front wheel, which is this one. Oh dear. Does not want to go in there, even though I've opened that up a bit. Come on, get on there. Okay, that's the front wheels. Now, this is the left rear. So that needs to go through there. At least that one's a little easier to thread through. Now, I'll put this one on. Like that. Right, that's that. That looks pretty good with those wheels on. Okay, and now the final step. These quarter lights. So I've given them a coat of the X19 smoke, the same as the other windows. Or does it go on the other way? There is a bevel on this, maybe that needs to go on the inside. Because I was going to have them open, because I'm assuming these quarter lights open. But I don't know if they're going to actually fit like that. Let's see, because what I do not want to do is drop this window into the car, because if I do, it will never come out. And the other problem we have, due to a bad moulding, you see at the top there we have a little pin for this to sit in, at the bottom we don't, which is fun. So maybe if I just do it like that. Right, and again, this is not the right way to do this, but it will have to do. Right, let's see if we can put this one in. And you know what? I think that is this thing done. All right, let's wrap this up, shall we? And here, at long last, is our finished article. This was actually a lot of fun to do this. I've enjoyed this project immensely, and it bodes well for the future project that this is leading up to. So we've revisited some techniques that I've used before, some that I've never used before, and everything's come out pretty much as I wanted it to. So yes, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this little Freedom Ford video, cue Eagle Screech, and hopefully that will have whetted your appetite for the for upcoming projects. Now the project this is leading to will not be the next one I do. As I mentioned earlier in this series, I'm still collecting parts. There's a few things I'm still waiting for, but there are going to be some other cars coming up. So hopefully you'll stick around for those and for other things as well. As ever, if you're feeling a little flush, then do feel free to pop over and give me a little support on Patreon if you can. And you're all more than welcome to come and join us in the staff canteen on Facebook, should you so desire. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this little foray into the world of cars, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers. Bye.